All right, welcome to Onshape, and I'm going to just go through some very simple basics for you guys. First off, when you want to create any new shape or any new file for that matter, you go to Create and Document. It's going to ask you for the name. Typically, for everything that we're doing in my class, I like you to put the number of the assignment, like if it's 1.1.6 or something like that. That way I can easily look at it and know which assignment we're talking about. So I'm not doing any specific assignment here. I'm just going to make up a number, 5.5.5 example. And then if you wanted to put your last name here, that's incredibly helpful. So let's just do last name, first name. That's just helpful for me. Create. Your screen's going to change, and you're going to have your 3 different drawing planes right here that you can draw from. But you really need to pick one that you want to work from. So depending on what your shape actually looks like, you want to try to pick the one that's going to be oriented in the most correct direction. So if we're looking at, say, a house, you would probably want to draw it from the front so that you can see the door, the windows, etc., etc. If you were drawing maybe like, I don't know, a pond, not a great example, but if you're drawing a pond, you wouldn't be able to see much from the front. All right, you'd want to kind of be like a bird flying over top of the pond and see the outline of the pond. So we would select the top view before we start any sketching. So to start a sketch, we're going to click the sketch tool up here on the left. I just click that, and it's going to ask me to select a plane. So most of the time we're going to use front. Sometimes we'll use the right side, and sometimes we'll use the top. Notice how they turn orange when I hover over them. That's just letting you know which one you are selecting. I'm going to go ahead and click the front, and now it wants me to draw in this plane or this view of the front, but it still doesn't really look like anything's changed other than this little sketch 1 button up here. So if we go over here to this little cube, we can actually orient this in different directions. We want to draw on the front. Now, what I've seen some kids do is they actually end up getting this thing spun around to where they're not drawing on the front, rather they're drawing on the top, and they can't see what's happening. It looks like nothing's happening, when in reality, they are drawing, but they can't see it because they're looking at this from the wrong direction. In this case, it doesn't let you draw anything, but let's just say that I did a nice little box here for sake of example, and I rotated my screen around. Notice the box is gone. It doesn't look like it's there anymore, and it's like, whoa, where's the box? It's there. You've just kind of moved it so that you can't see it, essentially. So if you ever feel like, where's my drawing? I'm clicking, nothing's happening, I can't select anything, that could be the issue. Another possible issue is you have clicked Finish Sketch, that little green check mark, and then you went up here to Sketch, and you created a second sketch. Notice it says Sketch 2 now. And what happens is kids will make a second sketch, and they're drawing some stuff, say the front plane there, and I don't want the top plane. No. I want the front. There we go. So let's say we're drawing some stuff here, and they're like, oh, well, this is the right box, but I want to delete this one. So they try to grab this, and it won't delete. And they're like, why won't this delete? I don't understand. I'm hitting the delete key, but it won't go away. I can't even select it all. It won't let me. Reason is, this box is part of Sketch 1, and this box is part of Sketch 2. So when you're making a sketch, you want to make sure that everything's in the same sketch. You don't want multiple sketches. So if I hit the green check mark, I am now out of both of them. I am exited, essentially. To get back in there, I can just double click on sketch 1, and now it will let me draw something else or delete or whatever I want to do with this square. If I have multiple sketches, like I just double clicked on sketch 2 and it brought me over here to the other box, and I want them to be the same or connected, the easiest way to do this is to just get rid of this second sketch and close, right click, and I'm just going to delete it. Now I know everything is on my sketch 1. Now, if you delete something that you didn't mean to delete, there is an undo button up here. You can just click that, and whatever you accidentally deleted will come right back. No big deal. All right, so that's just a little bit about sketching and views and planes and stuff like that. We're at about 6 minutes. I'm going to keep going and show some other stuff. So dimensioning, I think, is another big issue that people are still having. If I go into my sketch 1, actually let's delete this second one. I still want to get rid of that. I go back to sketch 1 and I need to dimension this box. So I have all these little tools up here at the top. I'm actually going to zoom in a little bit so they're a little bit bigger for you. Hopefully that makes it easier to see them. Okay. This right here is the dimension tool. If you're not sure, just hover over them one at a time and they will tell you what they do and what they are, depending on what you're trying to do. This is the dimension tool. So right now I have this blue box here, and really I want it to turn black. The only way to make it turn black is to dimension all the directions associated with that box. And notice I have it attached to my origin point. That's very important. This origin point doesn't move. It's kind of like an anchor. So as long as it's attached to this or measured to this point in some way, shape, or form, or dimensioned to this point, you should be able to get everything to turn black eventually. I want to set these dimensions to real numbers. So I'm just going to type in here 2, enter. And I want to click on this one, double click, and make that 2, enter. And that's one way that we can do a real simple dimension. Let's say I had an angle on here and I needed to set this angle. I could do a dimension between here and it will let me put a dimension in there. Let's say I want 45 degrees and it'll set that to 45 degrees for me. So to do that, you just click the line, click the other line, and set your angle. Notice my point here is kind of floating away from my origin. I want to fix that. This is another tool that's very important that we're going to use a lot, and that is constraints. These are all the different kinds of constraints. They're right next to the dimension tool. There's coincident, there's concentric, parallel. I'm not going to read through all of them. Tangent, we're going to use a lot. Horizontal, vertical are pretty straightforward. You want a line to be vertical, you make it vertical. You want a line to be horizontal, you make it horizontal. If I want this point to move, however, that's going to be coincident. Basically, it just means I want 2 points to be in the same spot. So I click those 2 points and it moves, and notice that the line has now turned black. If you didn't notice that, rewind and watch that, please. This other line over here is still blue. So if I hit escape to deselect all my tools, I can click on this line or one of the points of it and I can move it around. Notice it only moves along this angled line because I haven't told the program how long to make this line or how long to make this line, and I also haven't told it what angle this line should be on. So I don't need to give it all that information. I just need to give it some of that information, and it can mathematically solve for the rest. So let's say I want these 2 lines to be equal in length. I can do that with my constraints again. Equal, there, and there. And now I have really a right triangle. I think, at least I'm pretty sure it's a right triangle. It's pretty darn close to it. It has to be mathematically because this would be 45 degrees here. This would be 45 degrees here. That would leave 90 because you have 180 degrees in a triangle. Haha. So that's how to dimension some basic things, how to do a couple of the constraints. There's a whole bunch of constraints in here. I might do a video that's just constraints in the future. For now, I just want to go over a lot of the basics of just about everything. So I'm going to go ahead and hit the green check mark. This sketch is essentially done. I am now going to go over to my little box here and click the corner very carefully so that it brings me back to this three-dimensional view or three-dimensional angle. And then I'm going to pop these two shapes out. I'm going to give them a three-dimensional shape. So up here at the top, there's an extrude button. Click extrude. The first time you extrude something, it needs to be solid, needs to be new. The first time. Every time after that, it should be solid, add. There is a surface tool in here that we may use later, but for all intents and purposes, solid and add is going to be most of what you do. The first time will be solid, new. Okay, so you got to make sure that those are selected correctly. If not, this is going to do some weird stuff. So I go ahead and click. Because those are actually two separate shapes, I have to select both of them. If this line wasn't here, I could have just clicked the shape and it would have extruded it all at once. Now there's some options down here at the bottom that can do some fun things. Blind is basically just going to be saying, I'm going to extrude this in the direction of this arrow until it reaches this depth. So you can set the depth to whatever you want. You just click here. Let's say I want it to be 5. I hit enter. It's going to go out to 5 inches. If I want to change the direction, I want it to go the other way, I can click this arrow and it will go the opposite direction. If I want it to go both ways, symmetrically, there's a symmetry button here. I can click that, and it will go 2.5 this way, 2.5 that way. You can also set a draft, which is basically a taper. So in this case, it's actually getting bigger as it goes out. We could set it to go smaller just by changing the degrees here. Making it go smaller, and I can change this number. Right now it's a 3-degree draft. That's just the default. I don't need it to be a draft though. I don't even need it to be symmetric, but I'll leave that alone. And you hit the green check mark and that will make an extrusion for you. And now a lot of kids I feel are going to say, well, how do you make a hole in something? Okay, new sketch. And I'll try to be quick about this. New sketch. It wants me to select a plane. So I'm just going to click on any surface of this shape, even the sloped ones down here at the bottom. You can grab any of those. If you're wondering how I just did that move like that, that is a right click on my mouse and drag. The zoom in and zoom out is done with the mouse wheel, and I highly recommend having a mouse. If you haven't gotten a mouse yet, you should get one. Okay, so we started our sketch on this top side of this box. I'm just going to draw a circle, and I can turn this to the top view so it's easier to see. I'll throw some dimensions on here. So if you click the circle, it's going to dimension to the outside of the circle to the line. If you click the center of the circle to a line, it's going to dimension from the center of the circle. Typically, your dimensions are going to go from center point to edge, not edge to edge. Not always, but usually it'll be center point. So that's already pretty close to 1.25. I'm just going to round that over. And we also need the size of the circle. So I have to dimension the circle itself. It's pretty close to 0.75. And I'll just make this 0.5. Why not? I have all that done. I can mirror this thing if I want to. Let's go ahead and do that. Where is my mirror tool? There it is, mirror. So it wants me to select a line. I'm going to select that, select entities to be mirrored. So I select the circle, and it's going to mirror it on the bottom there. So now you've seen how to use the mirror tool as well. And we are almost out of time. So let me finish that sketch, go to extrude, and instead of adding material, I'm going to remove, click the circles, and there you have some holes. Ta-da, all finished. And that's the end of our video.